بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم المتقون. Today we are discussing this latest quality of Aimmah alayhimus salam, and this is still a continuation of the shahadat, the bearing of witness. So here we are saying, I also bear witness that you are the Imams who are the muttaqun, you are the pious. Muttaqun is actually the plural of muttaqi from the root of taqwa. Taqwa at its essence means to be careful, have fear or concern. And we have discussed this term in detail previously, so please refer to the previous sessions for a detailed discussion on this word. Taqwa brings with it many, many blessings. And taqwa has levels. And the Qur'an tells us, have as much taqwa as possible. For example, Allah says, ittaqullah haqqa tuqatihi. Have taqwa of Allah according to the right of His taqwa. So how much is His right? Of course, to the maximum level. Or it says, fattaqullaha mastata'atum. Have taqwa of Allah as much as you can, as much as is possible for you. So the Quran tells us have as much taqwa as possible, but obviously people are at different levels of taqwa. Taqwa itself brings many blessings and impacts upon the person. This depends, of course, on the level of that taqwa. How much taqwa does a person have? That will give him more blessings or reduce his blessings depending on whether he has more or less taqwa. It brings immense blessings both in this world and the hereafter. For example, Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Some people will be above others. Why? Due to their taqwa on the Day of Judgment. And in this world, Allah says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. A person of taqwa who has taqwa will find his rizq will have barakat and blessings. His rizq will come from him from whence he did not expect. And these are the different blessings associated with taqwa according to the Holy Quran. It can also be hidden and apparent. Quran says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلُ الْقُرَىٰ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَىٰ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. If the people of the towns would have taqwa and would believe, then we would open for them the blessings from the earth and the heavens. So, however you look at it, whether it's worldly or in the hereafter, people of taqwa will have immense blessings. In tattaqullah yaj'al lakum furqana. Allah says that if you have taqwa of Allah, then He will appoint for you a furqan, this kind of inner ability to distinguish between right and wrong, truth and falsehood. So taqwa itself is very, very blessed and very, very important. That's why it's one of the cornerstones of Islam and Islamic teachings. Now let's go on to the Imams. Imams, of course, they have all of these blessings and more that you can imagine. Why? Well, simply because they have the highest level of taqwa. Rather, we would not say exactly that they have the higher levels of taqwa. We will say they are taqwa embodied. They are the very manifestation of taqwa. They are personified taqwa. Taqwa is personified in them. And taqwa, Agha goes on to say, is actually the only way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you want to find a way towards Allah, you want to go down the path of irfan and spirituality, for example, how will you do this? It is only through taqwa. He says in Surah Al-Hajj, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا. When you sacrifice that animal in Qurbani for Hajj, the meat and the blood of that animal, that's not what's reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. But what reaches Him is your piety, your God consciousness, your God wariness. That is what reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what He wants to see in every action. So the way to Allah is through taqwa. However, it is a very difficult path. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, he says that من قلة الزاد وطول الطريق وبعد السفر وعظيم المورد. This is one of his famous sayings in Nahjul Balagha. This is saying number 77. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, alas, the provision is little. Here Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying that the road ahead is very long, but the provision that people have is very little. The provision is very little, the way is long, the journey is far, and the goal is hard to reach. Why is the provision small? Because the provision is taqwa, and people may not have enough taqwa. They need more, they need to always be striving for more. And taqwa, Allah says, is the best provision. Here, Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying that make sure you have your provision. Allah is saying what provision to have? It is taqwa. wa tazawwadu fa inna khayra zad at-taqwa. Take provision, for indeed the best provision is taqwa. Even our other aims and goals in this life. You see, sometimes people get confused. Are we Muslims just to be a nice person, to be good to people, to have justice, to have fairness? Some people would also go to the extent in saying some non-Muslim countries are better than Muslim countries because look here, we have cleanliness and fairness. Okay, these are all good and important, but we have to be careful what we say, because even all of that, what should it lead to? It should lead to higher levels of God consciousness and God awareness. I'dilu, Allah says. Be fair. We all love fairness, don't we? Be fair. Huwa aqrabu littaqwa. That is nearer to God wariness. Even your fairness should lead you to a higher level of God consciousness. Wa an ta'afu aqrabu littaqwa. To forgive and forgo. This is in Surah Baqarah 237. To forgive and forgo someone, to have afu and kindness and mercy and forgiveness on people is what? Aqrabu littaqwa, is nearer to taqwa and God wariness. Now the question arises, which Agha answers. He says, why has so much emphasis been laid on taqwa in Islam? Well, one way to look at it is that when we try to achieve taqwa, we try to be free of all shortcomings and faults. That's what taqwa means. It means to keep raising your level of piety, your level of care and carefulness and concern with your Lord and your position with your Lord, that you try to free yourself of all shortcomings and faults and sins. Well, in that case, Agha says, this is actually one of the qualities of Allah. Huwa ahlu taqwa wal maghfirah. He is the one, he is ahlu taqwa. He has taqwa and he has forgiveness, maghfirah. So Imams, when we engage in taqwa, we are actually trying to be more like Allah, but in our aspect, in our capacity, in our way. Now, Imams have this to the maximum level. Hence, for them to get close to Allah, be a manifestation of Allah, is also confirmed. This is obvious, this is a logical step. Allah is the one with the source of taqwa. The more taqwa that you can put in your life and in yourself, you'll be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imams have so much taqwa and so much fear of Allah, so much concern for Allah, that they are the closest to Allah. They manifest Allah's attributes and they are able to represent Allah and they become the hujjat of Allah. So the Imams alayhimus salam, their whole mission was to build a society based on taqwa, whether it is the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam in all its different aspects, the bravery of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, the sacrifice of Imam Hussein, the du'as of Imam Zainul Abidin, the Hawza Ilmiya of Imam Baqir and Imam Sadiq, the imprisonment of Imam Musa Kadhim, the role of Imam Rada alayhi salam at his time with the government of his time, and all the rest of the Aimmah alayhimus salam. It is all what? On the basis of furthering taqwa. They want, and Allah wants, a God conscious and godly society and world. This is one of the fundamentals of their teachings and fundamentals of Islam. So we will stop here for today. Today was a very short session. We'll stop here. Next week we will be discussing the next quality, which is a much longer discussion, which is as-sadiqun, the truthful ones. So let's stop here, and inshallah, if there's any questions, I will take them now. Please put them on chat if you don't mind. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions coming. So inshallah, we'll conclude. That was our discussion on the line from Ziyarat Jamia of Al-Muttaqun. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.